Hi, neighbors. I hope you are having a good Friday. I have freshly showered and am doing another video immediately after the one I did last night because time is of the essence here, right? We have until May 22nd if we so deem to appeal our new property tax values or valuation in this 2023 Craven County revaluation. And so I am going to talk, this video is going to be specific about comps and how to find those, because that is an expectation of the form that we received in the mail. So having said that, I am going to share my screen, but I'm going to start with something that really just kind of sent me, I don't know, I'm very sensitive these days to these things. But anyway, let's just start, right? I saw a comment on one of the social pages that I follow and was just checking in on last night about, well, this revaluation has been on the news and we got a letter about it last year. What did you expect? I have a hard time with that, from coming from corporate life where you are trained in how to communicate with your customers in a way that they understand. If they don't understand it, your communication failed, right? If they didn't know it was coming, your communication failed. Corporations, state, federal, local governments, they spend millions of dollars a year reflecting and doing process change management, communication planning, strategy on big projects and proposals, all around how do we get our message across such that people understand it in a way that is not pointed, in a way that does not cause division, in a way that creates a general, broad understanding, and understanding that for our local government, in this case, Craven County, their constituent base is so wide. We live in rural Eastern North Carolina. We have varying ages of populations. We have varying educational levels. We have varying levels of poverty. We have a lot of different things to keep in mind when we are thinking about how we are communicating with a broad range of unique individuals. Okay. I, for one, am very privileged in that I have a TV, I have a cell phone, I have the ability to read beyond an 8th grade level. I have an education at a master's degree. I have those, I just have those things in my toolbox. Those are things that I've worked hard for and that I use on the regular. Not everyone has had the access to or the want to have those things, and that is fine. No judgment here. But when we are doing something that affects every single property owner in the county, we have to make sure that the message gets out. 200, what did we say last night when we were looking at the Craven County YouTube page where the videos were posted for these? Less than 500 subscribers. I think that was even less than 200, if I remember correctly. Less than 500 views on the videos that are out there. So it's not getting across through YouTube. I, for one, don't have cable. I do not subscribe to the news. I do not in any way want news that is biased based on the financial backing of that news provider. I do not want that filtered into this house. So we do not subscribe to the news on a regular basis. If I want to know something, I seek it out. Having said that, I also appreciate the fact that I cannot live in a bubble and I have to allow certain pieces of information in. And that is where I rely on our social media networks, especially for things that impact Craven County. I look to Facebook, I look to Instagram, I look to YouTube when I know that there are channels available. But even then, I did not see a ton of marketing or communication through those channels about this revaluation. And even if I did, until you get a sheet of paper that shows that your property values have increased $185,000, give or take, 25%, until you see this, hey, we're going through a property evaluation in the next year, you'll receive that information in February. You will have appeals to be made by May. And then that will be reflective of what you will see in your property tax bills come later. The fact that we're doing the thing does not in any way create an awareness that this thing will be significant. I have not seen anything posted that made me think, hey, we're doing this and we're expecting property rates across the board to go up. And I have not watched all the videos that are out on the Craven County website or the YouTube channel. I will do that. That is on my list. But through our regular, everyday, this is how I'm getting information, which I use to make decisions in my life, this has been not even a blip, not even a cog in the chain. I don't, for something that has this big of an impact, to say we've been talking about it, it falls short of the actual impact of what is coming. And I think I say this also through the lens of being a property owner in a community that is managed by a property owners association. When you have things in the works where we're saying this is coming, hey, we purchased a property up here, and people ask questions, how much did it cost? What are the taxes? What are the ongoing maintenance fees? Does that increase our dues on an annual basis? Those things are important, and just throwing it out like, congratulations, you're the new owner of this piece of property at this intersection, without giving those additional details, people don't understand impact. And so I want to start out this video by addressing the fact that yes, Craven County has been talking about this, but in no real way, in no material way, has anyone alluded to the impact that this evaluation would have. So I don't feel bad for having an opinion. I do not in any way apologize for making these videos that help those that live in my community understand how this evaluation affects them and how to find information to appeal it if that's something that they want to do. But effective communication is the process of exchanging ideas, thoughts, opinions, knowledge, and data so that the message is received and understood with clarity and purpose, received by the audience. And in this case, the audience is the entirety of Craven County that own a piece of material property. That's a big audience to address. And you have to, I would think, from what limited marketing experience I have and what experience I have leading multi-million-dollar, multi-year engagements for hospitals across a country where their geography is disparate, where the populations that they serve are very different, some being landlocked like in Hawaii, some being super rural without a lot of access to money, to financial means, like the Chickasaw Nation and these other Indian Health Services hospitals. The way that you address them about the very same thing that impacts everyone is different because the way they interpret and receive information is different. That's something that the county has to consider. And I'm not apologizing for that. That's something they have to do. And for me, living in Fairfield Harbor for 2 years now, last year, I didn't really think about property taxes because we just purchased our home and it gets paid in our mortgage statement over the course of a year. So I get it and I see it. And it was year one that we were here. So I didn't really have any perception, good or bad, that this is something that I needed to be paying attention to. A reevaluation for the entire county is something people are going to pay attention to, and they're going to want to know, how have we gotten to here? How do I appeal this? If that's something that they want to do. So I digress. But the message is received and understood with clarity and purpose. Purpose being impact. When we communicate effectively, both the sender and the receiver feel satisfied. It is not okay for you as the messenger to say, oh, I sent that email. Oh, I sent this text. Oh, I sent this YouTube video out there. If people are not engaging with your content, they didn't read the email, they didn't read the text, they didn't watch the YouTube video, you did not communicate. That is how it works. So we have to reevaluate the methods in which we are communicating with people across this county. I would say country, but this is a much smaller microcosm here. But I wanted to start here because this is important. We have a lot of people that purchased their homes, even in Fairfield Harbour, more than 10 years ago. They've never wanted to put their house on the market. They do not understand that the housing market went crazy during the pandemic. For us, we had a home in Charlotte, North Carolina, as you all are probably rolling your eyes because you're tired of hearing me say that. But we sold it in the pandemic after having only owned it for a year and made over $100,000 profit. Who does that? That is crazy, because people got into a bidding war. We did not bid, or we did not even list it. Our market value was way under where it actually sold at, because people got into a bidding war, because supply and demand is skewed during the pandemic when people are losing jobs. The cost of supplies are going up. It's just a crazy market. And to do this reevaluation in the wake, we're still feeling the ripples from that pandemic, that 3-year pandemic time period. To do this then, and again, I have not finished reading the 620 pages about the psychology of this reevaluation, but I'm hoping that it addresses how have we kept in mind that people that have owned their homes for 5 or more years and have never went to a market, they don't have an active current appraisal, they do not understand the current real estate market. And are we really expecting people to go out and get appraisals and seek out real estate agents for comps? And I know you're not, because you gave us information. This is what this whole video is going to be about, on how to find comps using the Craven County NC.gov website. And we're going to walk through that today. But people don't have people that have not been buying and selling property over the last 3 years have no concept of what this market has been capable of producing, both good and bad, over the past 3 to 4 years. And I think armed people, other than a few YouTube videos and a 600-page document, we have not armed people with the tools that they need to actively take action on an appeal if that's what they choose to do. Do they appeal? Is the market value of which this reevaluation was based on, is it accurate? How do they make that assessment without seeking out a professional opinion and do it in a way that feels good to them? I mean, I called a real estate agent this morning and was like, I had an appraisal done on our home in 2021 when we were purchasing it. Does that still stand? Are there things that I want to figure out? But her time is money. Getting an appraisal is several $100s. She talked to me about how some people could work with their bank. I guess banks have this process to, if they are looking to foreclose on a home, where they get a broker price opinion. It's about $60, but basically they seek out someone who's qualified to make a professional broker price opinion, or a BPO. And they just take a picture from the outside. They look it up on the website, which is what we're going to do here in a minute. And they give a professional opinion on what the market value is going to be. that's very high level and cursory in my opinion. But if you are at a loss, I do not have all the answers, obviously, but I would encourage you to reach out to a real estate agent. If you're listening to this and you live in Fairfield Harbor, we have several. Ashley Banks, we have Abby. Gosh, there's so many real estate agents in our neighborhood. Abby, I just forgot your name all of a sudden, like your last name, Albright. There are others. That's literally just two that I can name off the top of my head because they are also moms with sweet kiddos that run around this neighborhood. So you have to seek out this information. We have a very limited window to do that, but I wanted to start out this video with the folks that are coming back with a, you should have known this was coming. That's bullshit in my opinion. Sorry for the language on a Friday morning. But I have my coffee. I had a shower. I'm ready to do this. So I am going to switch over now. Here we have the workbook that we worked on last night a little bit together, right? So this was my questions I had started collecting. I've made no changes to this calculation sheet where we left off last night. So this is still standing. I'm still researching these current rates. And we're going to talk about comps today. How did I find the comps? And I'm going to talk to you why I have two tables here. You may not have two tables here. Okay. So let's just navigate to the website. I am just going to, again, starting from cravencounty.nc.gov, in case you do not have the full hyperlink, I'm going to show you how to navigate the website to get here. What I did was cravencounty.nc.gov. I came down here under quick links to Revaluation 2023 information. And then search comparable sales of my property. Okay. There is a quick video tutorial on how to use this. I'm just going to bypass that to here. And it launches the Craven County GIS. Okay. This is all publicly available information. There's nothing in here that you get to that is considered confidential and proprietary. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to show you, if you want to enter your address, you have to break it up, right? So your property number, that's optional, but we're going to include it because we want to know what are the comps for my property. And I do have my parcel ID for my sheet of paper. Remember, that is your township, the map number, and the lot number together make up your parcel ID. Your street name, I'm going to say Plymouth. Okay, and I always forget. So Plymouth, because the suffix is where we're going to get to court, CT. I'm going to click search. Look at that. Here we are on Northwest Creek. By far, I think one of the best pieces of property in Fairfield Harbor. We love it here. So this is our property report card. So over here on the right, it shows your name, your address, your subdivision, what your property's description is. That's in the deed book. Your assessed acreage. So we're at a ½ acre. It was recorded. This is when we bought our house, St. Patrick's Day, 2021. This is where you can find it in the deed book. It's important to know, last night when we were looking at the other table where you can see what your tax values are, we do not have 2023 numbers in there. If you will remember, the last year that you see is 2022 because we're still going through the evaluation process and the appeals are not happening until May 22nd is the deadline. But it's important to note that these numbers right here, I wish I could make a block. These numbers right here are from your 2023 tax assessment. So 154. So remember how last night I said, I don't know on my spreadsheet how this breaks down to get to the 735,450. Well, now I do. So we've got more data elements, right? Let me just go back and pull this. Pull this over because I'm going to pull those over. Okay. So what I have is my total building, well, let's see, land value went up to 154,000. And building value went up to 581,450. This is Format Painter. If you take cells that are formatted the way that you want them, you can paint them down here. So let's just see. Oh, look at this. So 581,450 and 154,000 is 735,450. So I no longer have this outbuilding value that was included last year. Question: why is the outbuilding included in 2022 and not 2023? What is that? I still don't know what that is. I did find something on here and I will show it to you. I think it's telling me that it's the dock. Again, I question that because I was under the impression from my property insurance company and CAMA when we had them come out to do the dock for the paperwork we needed for the permit from the Property Control Committee in Fairfield Harbour. I was told that things on the water were not considered part of the real property value here, or that's the way I interpreted what was said. Again, communication is making sure sender and receiver are on the same page. So if it is the floating dock that is out in the river attached to our wooden dock, I have more questions, but I need to confirm that that's what it's actually talking about. But anyway, now I have these numbers because they're here, okay? And I know that these are the new numbers because last year my number was 548,330, okay? All right, so going back here, it tells you that we're not tax exempt. Our community fire district is tri-community, and we are a residential one-family unit. That's the land use, the way in which our land is purposed today. You do see a property report card. If you pulled that up, I have printed these. This tells you the sales history, as well as the year it was built, the values. Oh, here's where I saw that. Look, boat dock, pier, residential, 18,670, which the value 18,670 is more than we paid for the actual thing. I don't know. Again, I have questions. So, but this is all information that we've pulled, right? The other thing is there is an appraisal card here. Okay, this very much mimics what an appraisal looks like. Okay, so I pulled up our appraisal from when we bought this house in 2021, and it goes through neighborhood characteristics, one unit housing trends. Again, and I said this last night and re-listening to last night's recording, I'm not sure I was clear. I certainly don't want people to think I'm in any way downgrading any homes in Fairfield Harbour. I think we have a beautiful community, but when I use the analogy of like an open floor plan to like a closed floor plan and how one is not as valuable as the other, it's based on trends. If buyers are wanting to buy homes with open floor plans and your home does not have one, then based on buyer trends, the value of your home is less. Same with a pool. If buyers are wanting a pool, then and your house has one, then your property values or your fair market value goes up because that amenity is in demand. If people don't want a pool and your home has a pool and the buyers think, well, that's just one more expense that I have, one more thing that could break, who's keeping up with the chemicals, how much do chemicals cost, all the things that go into owning and maintaining a pool, that becomes a dissatisfier for them, then that brings, in their opinion, the value of your home down because that's not something that they are prepared to support. Does that make sense? So anyway, it's based on trends and what buyers specifically are looking for in the homes around our communities. That's why it's so important when we are talking about the POA, that we have a POA that keeps our best interests in mind and that also makes sure that we are collectively keeping our area in a condition to where people want to be a part of it. That helps with our property values, right? So anyway, we get down here into appraisal, and they give things ratings based on the condition at the time of the appraisal. So you'll see down here, right? The price per square foot, the tax record information, but then they say down here, they start to just add notes like things are in good condition, things are in fair condition, things are in disrepair. And then that's how they do the plus or minus value from the base to be able to tell you the comp, right? So here, when we're comparing our home against these other homes two are in Fairfield Harbor and one is in Carolina Colors, when we're comparing our home to these, they get additional value over ours because of certain things that they have. Quality of construction. These, in this appraiser's opinion, were better constructed than ours. We had a quality 2. These are all definitions found in that 620-page guide. Theirs are a quality 3. Okay. So again, these are all things that are considered in coming up with the fair market value of your home. Okay. And that's what this reevaluation is based on. So if you have not sold your home in the past 2 or 3 years, or you have not sought a real estate agent or an appraiser to actually evaluate the fair market value of your home, this is all Greek to you, because home prices were not this expensive in 2019, just 4 years ago, right? This has been a pandemic real estate bubble that we're basing fair market value on. And again, I appreciate the fact that supplies have gone up. We've seen the price of wood, everything. We have supply chain issues where we can't even get some pieces into the country, and there's an expense associated with getting those things expedited such that we have them for construction. So I understand that supply and demand, again, these are macroeconomic factors, but they do impact our microeconomic situation here in Craven County. Okay. So it's important to just think laterally about everything that is included here. All right. So I'm going to come back to this appraisal report, right? But anyway, this is what this appraisal report card is. Okay. And then you have sales info. This sales info tab, I'm not going to cover these other tabs. You can click on them if you want to, but this is where I want to be. This is, again, the sales history of this property. This is the sale date, deed, book page for each of the sales. And then down here is where we get to the comps. So this website, this Craven County GIS, is telling me that my property, the subject property, 5002 Plymouth Court, is comparable to 5014 Bucko Reef Road, 5421 Tradewinds Road, and 5510 Gondolier. And it gives me the sale price, it gives me the date that they sold, and it gives me their parcel ID. So if I click on this parcel ID, it launches their GIS page, and I can get land value, total improvements, and total assessed value for these properties, hence where my spreadsheet came in. So what I did was, for each of those properties that the GIS told me I was comparable to, 5014 Bucko Reef, 5412 Tradewinds, and 5510 Gondolier, I put in their sale price from the website. This was all manually keyed. So again, just keep in mind, there's a human factor here. So there's an opportunity that numbers can be keyed wrong. So just do your best to go back and double check if this is a method that you're following to capture information. Just make sure that you're capturing all the numbers correctly. Just do a quick double check. The sale date. So these all sold in the past year. The square footage, the year built, the lot size, the number of beds, baths, fireplace, garage, dock, whether or not there's a pool, and then the total assessed value. This is pulled from the GIS on, oh, you know what? I think I'm off on my days. Yesterday was Dr. Seuss's birthday, and that's when I pulled these last night after I did the first video. And then I've included the community that it's in. So these are all in Fairfield Harbour. Okay, I put in the parcel ID so I can go pull up the GIS if I want to. The one thing I will just note about baths is that whenever you have half baths involved, depending on the site that you use, some of them count a half bath as a whole. Some of them don't count it as all. Some websites that you go to for real estate, they will have a separate section for half baths altogether. So just keep in mind that the baths number, in my opinion, is not always accurate. It says, for example, that we have on this GIS site, it says we have 4 bedrooms. We absolutely do not have 4 bedrooms. We have 3 rooms that have a closet. That's the only bedrooms that we have. We have another room, but there's no closet or a bathroom associated with that room. It is just like upstairs storage. So there are things wrong that will go into our appraisal or our appeal for this appraisal. Appeal for this evaluation. So anyway, one thing, I don't know if you're familiar with Excel. If you're not, I'm going to show you one quick thing because, again, I need quick visual cues here. So, for example, for fireplace, we do not have a fireplace. Our property has been roughed in for one, but one does not exist. A lot of people want fireplaces, especially in the wintertime. So this is something that is a value add for a lot of buyers, right? So I'm going to just click on conditional formatting and say, if that column is equal to no, I want it to be red because that's a value decrease. If it is equal to yes, and again, I put in the N's and Y's, you can call it whatever you want. I want it to be green. Okay. The same, I'm going to do the same with my lot size because land value matters. And so I'm going to say if any of these numbers in column G, I don't know what I clicked on. Hold on a second. If any of these are greater than my property value, then I want it to be green. If they're greater than, so if their land from a square foot perspective, their lot size is bigger than mine, I want it to be green. If their square foot size or the lot size is less than my property value, and I'm just clicking, this was already highlighted, I'm just clicking on lot size. I'm saying what I want it to be filled with. You can make it yellow. You can make, I'm going to make it red because if it's smaller than my lot size, I want it to be red. Okay. You can do the same with all of these beds and baths. Okay. I just highlight the rows that I want to be considered for my conditional formatting. And I say, if this number is greater than this number, I want it to be green because it's bigger than what I already have. Those are things that are going to be more valuable than what I have. If it's less than my value, I want it. What did I do wrong? If it's less than my value, oh, those are equal to. So we have none that are less than. Okay, bathrooms I'm not going to do. Garages I'm not going to do. Docks, everybody has a dock. No one has a pool in this evaluation. But if you look here, the total assessed value that I pulled yesterday from the GIS on all of these properties is significantly less than mine. For very similar, less land with a fireplace, less land with a fireplace, same number of baths, one more bedroom, lot size is bigger by 1/10 of an acre. They do also have a fireplace, but why is their property value $465, $440? If we look at square footage, there's only one that's kind of similar from a total square foot size, but I don't think these are comps, right? So I have the value of having had an appraisal done in 2021. So that is the second table. What I did was I went to my appraisal from 2021, and our appraiser even actually noted that it was hard to find listings that were comparable within Fairfield Harbour that were sold in the last 12 months. So he did the subject property is considered to be of high-end quality home, waterfront home, Fairfield Harbour. Search began with Fairfield Harbour and then expanded to Carolina Colors for a similar quality home included to bracket the square footage and quality. Okay, so they even had to go outside of Fairfield Harbour to find a comparable property. So I pulled these 3 properties. Again, I went to the website, right? I went here. Let's just start a new one so we don't lose any of our screens. This is how I get like 100,000 tabs open. Why aren't you opening? Okay, so 911 Hawksbill, 911 Hawksbill. I think that's road. Is that road? Court. Glad we looked, because nothing would come up if you put this in. Hawksbill Court. Search. Okay, so this is here. And then again, I went and pulled all of their information just like I did mine for each of these. You don't have to, for these comps, know the parcel ID. You can look them up by address, right? So I did that for each of these, and I pulled over the same information, the sale price, the last date it was sold, the square footage, which these are more comparable square footage wise, the year that they were built, the lot size, number of beds, number of baths. This yes to means that yes, they have 2 fireplaces, the garage, whether or not there's a pool, or whether or not there's a dock. So what I find interesting is that even still, for homes of similar property, this one is also in Fairfield Harbour, built 4 years prior to ours, but has an entire acre more land. It does have a dock. It does have a pool, according to the thing I looked up, unless they're considering the community pool, but most do not. But it says it has a pool for $711,930. It's still less than ours. So 1,000 square foot less, an acre of land more. It has 1 fewer bedroom, 1.5 fewer baths based on what I see. It does have a fireplace, which we do not. It has a 3-car garage. We have a 2-car garage. It has a dock and a pool, and its property value is less than ours. Why? This one that is several $100,000 more than ours over in Carolina Colors, it is 0.67 acres. They have more land, but they also have 1,000 square feet more than we do. It also sold for a lot more in 2020. So it has an additional bedroom, same number of baths, and 2 fireplaces. So again, comps are all in the eye of the beholder. And I would think that if I had another appraiser come out, typically appraisals come out and just make sure that your property value is going to be greater than the offer, right? Because you want to make sure that you're at least even. You don't want to have negative equity in your home going into the purchase. So that's the purpose, or the primary purpose of an appraisal during the due diligence process. But if we're using the appraisal process as part of the fair market value for these home values in the reevaluation, this is all information that us as non-real estate professionals, non-appraisers, we're literally going out on a limb, because these numbers in GIS, there's no way we're comparable here. For one reason or another, I do not consider $300,000 to be comparable. When you're talking about difference in property value. And then here we get more comparable based on the new GIS information that's out there today. This is all stuff I hand keyed in, things I felt was important. But again, while our values are similar, the types of property, square footage, land-wise, and what is more important, where do you place the most value? There's got to be a scale. So this is so abstract to me for someone who is so analytical in the way that I approach things, because again, I work on federal and state contracting where the government says, we need this proposal. It cannot be more than 40 pages. It will be Times New Roman. You will not have more than one space between paragraphs. Your margins will be 1 inch. And in this section, your corporate understanding, you're going to include your past performance. You're going to include your key personnel. It gives you, this is the recipe that we want this to mimic. There's no recipe here. It's based on opinion. It's based on fair market value today, coming off a post-pandemic real estate frenzy over the past 3 years. And I even someone that has bought and sold multiple properties in the pandemic, am confused about how I use this information to craft my appeal. So I am continuing to talk with my real estate agent friends. I am continuing to talk with my property insurance. I did talk with our property insurance company yesterday and said, hey, question, if our property taxes increase based on market value increases, does my property insurance increase? And his response to me was no, not necessarily. It can, but across the board, that will not be the case. But these are all things that we have to consider. Again, additional work that we have to do. And I'm going to end with this because I think I'm going to do several more videos. Again, time is of the essence here if appeal is something that you want to do. But I want to say that I think of this knowing what I know about how federal and state government works. They are counting on people not taking action on this, right? Because if you look at this in the grand scheme of things, my property tax, if the calculations I have here are correct, which again, that's a question I have. I mean, this is $103 to $118. This is not material in the grand scheme of things. What is that? Math, right? $15. This is not significant because the tax value, what I calculated for last year was 0.75, even though it says it was 0.56, but 0.56. But based on this value, should we get back up to 0.75, 0.8, 0.62, these do become material numbers, right? As your tax rates increase and your total tax value increases, that gap is going to continue to increase, right? So it is important to do this now. I think that they're thinking that most will not respond to this. It'll be kind of like a rebate situation. Hey, buy this TV and you get a $200 mail-in rebate because 95% of people won't mail in the receipt and that sheet of paper. I hope that's not the case. I hope they are flooded with appeals and it takes them till the end of the next reevaluation cycle to get through them all. That's in my heart of hearts. That's what I'm hoping happens. But again, I'm still digging through information. I hope this was helpful. What we did today was we just did a recap briefly of the spreadsheet that I continue to build upon. And then we went to the Craven County NC.gov website and we looked at how to find the comps for your property based on GIS. How, from my perspective, the comps that it was giving me for my property are in no way comparable, just based on tax value alone. And so I went back to the appraisal that we had done in 2021 and pulled those properties, wondering if they were still comparable. And that just in a number total property value perspective alone, they are more comparable. but things that have more amenities, more features, things that are attractive to buyers. These other homes that have a total property value less than mine have more of those things. And so again, I'm continuing to parse out what's important here, what's not important here, such that I can pull all of my documentation together. The next step for me after I validate this kind of the actual rates year over year, will be finishing up watching the videos, reading through that document, the 620-page document that they put out, watching the videos, and then actually doing some research on what does a property tax evaluation appeal process look like, not only for Craven County, because they do give us instructions, but there is a lot of research out there from other folks that have done the appeals process that say, these are the things that we felt were important to put in there. I'm going to evaluate whether or not that's the case for me and follow suit accordingly. But I'll continue to include these videos to kind of walk through that process because, like I said, this is not new. This is not Craven County specific. This happens all over the country. And a lot of people have been successful through their appeals, and success leaves clues. And I plan to dig those out as we get towards May 22nd. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Friday. And I will see you in the newsletter and the Beacon survey or recordings coming out here in the next day or so. All right. Have a wonderful rest of your day and a wonderful weekend. Bye.